Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome back to NAWBO On The Go. I, of course, am Tanya Shagnon, and with me today I have Mirjam Quinn from our Chicago chapter, who is one of our Women Business Owner of the Year finalists. Congratulations. I'm so excited to have you here with me.
Thank you so much, Tanya. I'm so excited to be here.
Okay, we always start with a fun fact, and then
hmm
we're going to jump right into business. Fun fact, tell me about a book you've recently read.
Okay. So the book that I've recently read is called Younger by Next Year. I picked it up because right around Thanksgiving, the New York Times was running an article that said that if you can't get up without using your hands or knees from the floor, that you're basically dead, like dead in the water. Like that's it.
Oh,
Right. Call the
oh.
undertaker now. And so my whole entire family, we all, and it's a big old, big old family. We all were like down on the ground trying to get up. And don't you know, I could not get up without using my knees. And I was like,
Oh my gosh.
so I stumbled across this book called Younger by Next Year. It is written by a lawyer and a doctor, like buddies, like, right? One lawyer, one doctor, both in their one's probably in his 60s and the lawyer is in his 80s, and
Mm-hmm.
it's all about this idea of how can you, instead of having aging be this slow gradual decline, right,
Right.
have it be oh, you're just puttering along living your best life until then, one day, that's
Yeah.
it, right? But sounds much better.
It
That
sounds so much better.
It's so much better. The key is that you have to exercise, like get your heart rate up. They say 6 times a week, and 2 times of those have to be strength training. So my friend Lauren and I have begrudgingly signed up for strength training classes. And whenever it's terrible and we hate it, we look at each other and we're like, "Younger by next year." So get back to me next year. Next year, I might be able to get up from the floor without using my knees.
Funny. I'm making a note in my calendar to ask you. That is so funny. Okay, so let's jump in. Tell me about your business.
Yeah. So Miriam Quinn and Associates, I founded it back in 2014. It is a psychology practice that offers assessment, so psychological testing, assessment, and treatments that work for people across the age span. So we've got people from age 3 all the way to, people in their 90s that we're honored to work with.
I love this. And this is, it's a very special place in my heart. So you've described MQA as a
Mhm.
practice built on a simple premise that when you take extraordinary care of people doing the work, they take extraordinary care of the people seeking help. What does this, and I love that, I love that, I love that. What does that actually look like in practice?
Of course. Um, so I think the really beautiful thing about owning your own business, right, is that you are kind of able to create your own universe, right? You're kind of
Mm-hmm.
able to create this little microcosm of how you wish the world was. And one of the things that's really influenced how I've built MQA, in addition, obviously, to employee feedback about, what people tell you directly that they need, is also really what I needed when I was
Mm-hmm.
working for other people. Like, right, when I was a new mom, fresh out of grad school, going, oh my gosh, how am I going
Yes.
to juggle all of this? So there's a few different things that I think we've really placed a lot of emphasis on.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, full-time employment is defined as a 32-hour work week, of which 20 hours are client-facing, like direct therapy hours, so that people can, I think, it's hard work and it's heavy work, and you want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that people have enough downtime to leave work and to go just be human beings, right?
Right.
Both because everybody deserves that, right, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody is worthy of love and care, right? And also because I really do strongly believe that it lets us provide better care for the people that we work with.
I love that.
Thank
We're
you.
going to hear that a lot this session. Sorry, listeners,
Yeah.
you're going to hear I love that a lot.
We also have a really, so at some point in time, I was like, you know what? I don't want anybody guessing about what anybody else makes or what you have to do around here to get ahead. So we have a really transparent compensation and a very clear bonus structure, right? Because I think women, especially, and I think women of color, especially, like, right, that negotiation burden tends to have a disproportionate impact on people's career trajectories, right? And so
Yeah.
early on, I was like, you know what? We're just going to scrap this. I don't want anybody to ever have to come into my office and be like, can I have a 3% raise or whatever? Like, here's what it is. Like, here's your path. Like, if you choose to stay with us, here's what this looks like. Here's what the compensation structure is, so that there's no guessing, no negotiation burden. Um,
Amazing.
we do. So we always offer everybody's like CEs in-house, but then everybody also has a $600 a year budget for any other continuing education that they want, and built-in weekly supervision, because I think it's really important to invest in people's growth. Um, we have a specific training program, right? Because I think building the field matters. And so we want to build the next generation of clinicians to do really good and careful work.
Mm-hmm.
And then because for me, finding a good child care place that I felt comfortable leaving my baby at was so hard. And it
Yes.
was, man, it was so hard. Like, right. And so in 2018, I was like, you know what? We're going to have employer provided childcare, so that people don't have to worry about this kind of thing, so that they know who they're leaving their kids with. They know that their kid is right down the street. So if they have a cancellation, you can pop over to Maureen's house, and, go give your kid a hug, and then go about the rest of your day, right? So that you don't have to choose between your identity as a mom or dad and your identity as a therapist.
Such
Um,
a simple concept.
yeah. And then the other thing that I'm really excited about is that we recently earned the Gold Bell Seal certification from Mental Health America, for having a workplace that is particularly mental health friendly and mental health attentive. And I thought that that was really important, both because just the application process itself made me really think about structures that we have in place, and made me think, we're going for platinum next year, obviously. But I was like, oh yeah, I haven't thought about doing X, Y, or Z.
Mhm.
Right, number one. And then number two, I think it also, by making this public, like, right, is a good accountability measure. We're like, well, now we've said it out loud that this is
Right?
we better like stick to that commitment
Yeah.
to people's well-being.
I just wrote that down to learn more about that accreditation because I want to talk to some companies here
Yeah.
in my community about applying for that. That's amazing. So I know during COVID, you made a decision that not many practice owners
Mhm.
made. Tell me about that.
Um, yeah, so COVID, so
Woo!
it,
That was a whole thing.
oh man. So we had a staff meeting, and I want to say like May 6th or something like that, whatever that Tuesday was. And we were like, what are we going to do about this COVID thing? And
This COVID thing. Is it
our
going to stick around for a while?
our big idea was that I was going to take the Legos home from the waiting room, and our office manager was going to buy some Clorox wipes. Like that was like our COVID plan.
You're
And then
so cute.
a week late, well, those Legos, I was like, they get Germany probably.
Yeah.
And then a week later, everything had shut down, right? And so we were in this, like, especially the mental health space, like, right, we were in this spot where we didn't, like, right, it was unprecedented times, as everybody kept saying. And all of our insurers were like, our patients were like, I don't know, do we want to do telehealth sessions? And all the major insurers were like, oh, we don't know, are we going to cover telehealth sessions? um,
What?
and I was looking at the situation going, oh I think this is bad, and I think people are going to need mental health care more than ever. And I
More
think
than
this is
ever.
going to, I don't think this is going to be 2 weeks. I think this is going to last some time, but then you didn't know when, because like insurance companies move at the speed of really large corporations, right? So I was
Right.
like, I don't know when they're going to like make a decision on this, right? And so my team was scared, like, right? They were like, what are we going to do? Like, can we work? Should we work? We have a pretty hefty bonus structure that's tied to productivity. Like, how is this going to impact us? We had, kids already like almost from the get-go kind of starting to struggle, like that we were seeing in therapy. Um, and I think, the thing about being a leader is that much like with being a parent, right? Is that it's okay if you're kind of messy and it's okay if you maybe don't really know what you're doing, as long as you have a plan, right? It doesn't have to be a great
Right.
plan, it just has to be a plan. And I was like, uh, I think everybody just needs me to have a plan. And then I looked around and there was no other adults coming. I was like,
Oh, no.
the buck stops here. Oh no. And so then I thought back to my mom and my grandma who were always like, well, you got to do the right thing, like, right? And sometimes like you're going to be up and sometimes you're going to be down. But at the end of the day, what matters is how you behaved, right? And so I sat down and I wrote an email to my to every client that we have, and I was like, all right, I'm going to promise you guys, I think you guys should come to therapy. It's going to be online. There's this crazy company called Zoom. Here's how you do it.
Maybe you've heard of it.
I cannot tell you if your insurance company is going to cover this or not, but I will promise you right now that we will never charge you anything other than your copay. So if that's $20 and the insurance company is like, too bad, so sad about the, remaining 130, then that's okay. You will never owe anything more than what you would in precedented times. And then I clicked over and I wrote an email to my team and I was like, all right, guys, I've just sent out this email to our clients. People are going to ask you about telehealth sessions. I don't know if they're going to get reimbursed, but I'm going to pay you what you guys would have made otherwise. And then I slammed my laptop shut and laid down on the floor of my baby's nursery and just cried. And
Oh
my husband
my
comes in and he's like,
gosh.
what's the matter? And I was like, I think I might have just tanked this company. I don't know, but it was the right thing to do. And yeah, and it was and then obviously everything turned out fine. Like, right, obviously telehealth
Right.
thing, obviously the insurance companies were like, sure, we're gonna pay you. But I think it was like one of those moments that actually, looking back on it, um, like really I think when you're a leader and you behave in trustworthy ways,
Hmm.
right? Your team may not always like remember the specifics of it, but they'll remember how they felt in that moment. And they'll remember if they felt held and taken care of and like somebody was showing up and taking responsibility or not. And so I think that advice that my mom and my grandma gave me was really good advice.
Oh my gosh, this is such a perfect moment. So, MQA serves a community, the South Side of Chicago. It's really special because it's super diverse and people's roots there run crazy deep.
Mhm.
At the same time, this community doesn't always have easy access to quality mental care. How do you handle that responsibility?
Yeah, thank you for asking this. Um, so people always say about Chicago, like, we don't want nobody that nobody sent, right? And what that
Right.
kind of means is like, you know, is that who you are and whether you are of the community, like, right, really matters in ways
Right.
that maybe in other geographic locations it wouldn't. So my husband is a Chicago firefighter. He was, born and raised here on the South Side, right? So this is really my home where I'm raising my family. It's not just like a market that I moved into, right? And I think that really informs how the practice has been built, right? There's a lot of very traditional values on the South Side of Chicago, right? And I think traditional values and mental health care can have a really complicated relationship. right?
Mhm.
There's a
Mhm.
lot of stigma. There's people who would, sometimes come through our doors who would not in a million years have considered coming to therapy if they didn't know my husband from the dart league or me from like the soccer field and knew that I was like a reasonable, normal human being, right?
Right.
So I think that comes with a lot of like responsibility,
That
right?
comes with a ton of
Yeah, you
responsibility.
got to be worthy of that trust, right? And then I think the other piece is that like the South Side really is one of the most diverse areas of the city, but it's not always an easy diversity, right? There can be a lot of tension there, and so we try to be a place where that complexity really gets held with a lot of care and love. We try to reflect that diversity in our team, right? So that people can really find themselves or see themselves in the therapists that they end up working with. And then we also just make sure that we take the insurance, right? That sounds so simple, but like that we take the insurance that working families actually have, right? And I think all of those things are really matter.
I love that. See, here we go. I love that. Okay. You've said, and you've said it to me quite a few times, this isn't just your story, that it belongs to a lot of women.
Yeah.
Tell me about that group.
Yeah. Like I feel so lucky, right? Because I feel like I'm in person and in spirit surrounded by so many women who've really made this whole career trajectory possible, right? Beginning with my mom and my grandma who taught me how to do the right thing, even when it's
Mm-hmm.
hard, right? My daughters, I want to live up to the person that they see when they look at me. Like, right, they're so proud of me. And every now and again, I'm like, oh, I better step it up so that I can actually
Right?
meet what they, who they think I am. I think it's a story of the my NAWBO sisters and my WPO sisters, right? Because I come from a family where women stopped working once they started having kids, right? So I was
Mm-hmm.
the uh, first person in kind of like my direct line, the first woman to be a mom and have a job. And I remember
Imagine that.
being so disoriented by that and being like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? How do I be this? And that's where NAWBO became so important, right? Because it was a bunch of mentors doing it, like, right, who were in it. And
Mm-hmm.
the story of Lauren, who's my clinic director and my very first employee back in 2014, who came and said, I think you got something here and I think you should start hiring people.
Aw.
The story of my friend Griselda Garibay when I sat around and complained that I didn't know what I was doing in running a business, said, well, then you better sign up for Goldman Sachs or something and learn how to do it. Instead of complaining, and I was like, oh, tough love, but okay. And it was accurate, right? And
Thanks for that.
I need it was the kick in the pants I needed. It's the story of my friend Lori Parrott, who's kind of my level up and be creative. She is the most creative person when it comes to new lines of business and new funding ideas. It's the story of my friend Nina Kaiser, who's my buddy from grad school and now my private practice like BFF, who supports and cares for me so much. And then Melissa Littlefield, who's my COO, who is, makes all of this like feel really doable and manageable. So there's, and probably all kinds of people that I'm not mentioning right now on the spot, but yeah, it's the story of lots of people, lots of women that I've been blessed to know.
When I have guests like you, I really hate that our podcast is just 20 minutes long because I don't want our conversation to end. It's so much fun and you're such a joy and you're just lovely. Thank
Right
you.
back at you. This has been I was so nervous for this, and you have made this feel so good and easy.
Oh, thank you. Okay, before we get all
Yeah.
mushy, we always end with a favorite quote. Do you have a favorite
Yes,
quote you would like to share?
I do. I wrote it down on a sticky note
Ah,
because this is a riff on something that Salman Rushdie said, and it goes, "We all owe death a life, so make it a meal worth having, succulent and filling, salty from the sweat of living, and sweet from all the love you made."
oh my gosh, that's amazing. Oh my gosh, that needs to be on a sweatshirt, a t-shirt, something. That's
Does
incredible. Holy cow. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I feel like we're going to be fast friends and
I
be
agree.
having many more conversations past this podcast. But thank you for all that you do. Thank your husband
Well,
for all that he does for the city of Chicago. And I can't wait to see you in June and give you a squeeze.
I can't either. I'm so excited. I'll see you in.
Yay! And thank you, listeners, as always, for joining me every single week. I will see you back here super soon for our next episode.